Hey guys, what is up? Ioki, and I want to personally welcome you guys to Season 12. This is going to be our first massive tier list for the season. Today is the very first day of the season, and I'm happy to be your guide on what to play and what not to play as a support going into the new season. So if you guys don't know who I am, and it's maybe your first time on the channel, I am a Grandmaster, multi-season Grandmaster support player. I've got lots and lots of competitive experience. I know the support role. So if you're looking for an expert, you found them, boys. But I do want to just say, make sure you're subscribed to the channel because we're going to be pumping out lots and lots of educational content just like this to help you in your climb. Lots of coaching, lots of gameplay commentary, lots of tier list, all that stuff. So make sure you're subscribed to the channel because we're trying to hit 100,000 subs on the channel in 2022. So that being said, let's get right into it. So tier 5, we're going to start all the way at the bottom, what I consider to be the absolute worst champions to play in the support role. Now, this tier usually doesn't change too much. Sometimes a champion gets lucky and happens to escape out of it, such as a Mumu when he got reworked, but he's much better at support. But usually this tier is the exact same. These are just champions that I just personally think are completely overrated or just not very good at all in the support role. Starting with one of the worst, I think Nunu. Nunu's literally one of those champions that I just think people wish were a support. You know, he's got a fun support-ish kit. He's got a lot of utility, but he's 100% balanced around the jungle role, and playing him in the support role is really just like kind of a nightmare and not as fun as it sounds on paper. He's also playable in the mid roll, but that's just because like he can mid roll. You know, he can roll a snowball and he has more access to the map. And he's usually playing like a Dark Harvest cheesy way in the mid roll. But I really want to play him in the support role. If you're going to, I would play him tank, utility, rush things like Locket and Redemption. On to another one that people seem to really like playing support, but is just genuinely her time as support has completely passed. Annie is just a 100-0 burst champion, and if you can't 100-0 someone, she's not a very good champion. So usually don't have the economy. You usually don't, have that 2-item power spike to flash ult someone and actually one-shot them from the support role. So she's just not good. Gragas, I'm actually going to move this guy up to tier 4. We'll talk about him a little bit later. Ivorn is going to be our next tier 5 champion. Again, one of those champs that people just wish was really good in the support role. I'm not going to spend too much time on these tier 5 champions because this is the first day of the season. You guys want to hear the good champions, right? But just trust me, Ivorn support is not the play. Anivia support, now, this one comes with a little bit of a caveat. If you're an Anivia one-trick, this champion is insane in the support role. For most people, this champion is really, really bad in the support role. You do nothing but shove your wave and disrupt your own team with the wall and miss your stun. There's just way easier champions. You can get so much more usage and value out of them. But if you are going to be like a psycho Anivia one-trick and put like hundreds and hundreds of hours into this champion, I would place them somewhere around tier 3. But for the majority of people, Anivia is not the play. Fiddlesticks, this one makes me really, really sad because I used to be a Fiddlesticks support main. Well, really, I used to be a Fiddlesticks mid main, and then I started playing him in support. And he used to be really, really good at support, but then they reworked him and put all these new things into his kit and took away his main form of harassment, which was the bouncing bird. Ever since the rework, Fiddlesticks has just not been the play, unfortunately. And then Malzahar, this champion has the same problem as Anivia. All you're going to do is when you're trying to harass them, the enemy team, as like a poke support, all you're going to do is shove your wave and make you more vulnerable to ganks. You're very, very useless pre-6 and then post-6. You still got a lot of mana issues. I just want to be playing Malzahar. So there you have it, guys. Tier 5, these champions are pretty trash. Play them if you want. Obviously, play whatever you want, but these are going to hurt your climb for sure. Okay, so climbing up the list, we've got tier 4. You are still hurting your climb by playing these champions. I want to say these champions are absolute dog. I want to say these champions are trash or anything like that, but there's definitely better champions out there. So as you saw, we moved Gragas from tier 5 into tier 4 purely because of the fact that he counters some of the actually genuinely good champions that we'll see up higher on the list, like Leona. He makes playing tank supports really, really difficult because he's got this big wide hitbox and a super easy move called Body Slam on his E that disrupts all tank support engages. Is he the best tank support gauge himself? No, but is he specifically good against that champion? Yeah. So we're gonna move him up just for that alone. Poppy kind of has the same thing going for her. She can be played in the support position pretty well. She fills a very specific niche of kind of what I just talked about with Gragas, where like she presses W and then she stops all dashes. So if the enemy team has to have like 5 hyper mobile dash champions, yeah, lock in Poppy. But locking in Poppy as a counter pick to like Leona alone in the bot lane is not really a super smart decision. So again, I'm just going to recommend that like unless you're a Poppy one trick and you got autofilled support, probably I would avoid Poppy support. And once again, same thing, pretty similar to Ahri. I've been playing a lot of Ahri support. I think she's so fun, and I do think that she's better than people think that she is in the support role. She's a super fun, interactive, like nice, fun, fluid combo to land. It's very fluid. I don't know another word for it. It just feels good to land her combo. You know, the EWQ, sneak in autos combo. But and the new Glacial actually works quite well with her. The reworked Glacial Augment, where you land a charm and then all the Glacial Rays go out. But I still can't, in good faith, put her above tier 4. So I'm relegating her to like a 4 fun support. Sion. He's kind of like Annie, where like Sion support used to be a big thing, but unless you're a massive Sion player and you got autofilled support, I really just want to do this. He's really only good in like super cheese lanes, cheese kill lanes, like Sion Pantheon, or maybe doing like a starving Senna where you just put any tank in front of you and let Sion absorb all the spells. But playing Sion support, what I'm basing this tier list off of is if you were to play 100 games of this champion, you know, sometimes you know the enemy team picks, sometimes you don't. That's kind of how I place these champions on the tier list, is like how good are they going to perform over a set of 100 games? You know, they're going to have good matchups, bad matchups. They're going to be winning in some, behind in some. And I really just can't recommend Sion by that metric. So Nico, another, just like Ahri, super fun. But unfortunately for Nico's kind of like a riskier, shorter range version of Lux, and as you'll see later, Lux is super good right now, so there's no real reason to play Nico unless you're just like Dog Lightning or something. And then up next is Talia. Again, I've been playing a lot of Talia. I think that champion's so fun, but outside of cheese kill lanes designed for her, like maybe like a Draven Talia we did really well with, or a Talia Pantheon, which was a famous kill lane a couple seasons ago, I would stay away from Talia. Camille, same thing. She was played in the LCS like 3 seasons ago, I think, but she's just totally fallen out in the support role. Shaco, super fun, but unless you're a psychopath Shaco one-trick player, there's just so much easier champions. And that's kind of what it comes down to in the support role, is a lot of the times you're just looking for like, okay, this champion can do this 1 or 2 things, but it's super hard and he can only do them in a few scenarios. And there's a lot of effort that goes into that, effort and setup. Don't get me wrong. I took an account from unranked to diamond playing basically only Shaco. I love Shaco as an off-meta support, but yeah, so you just go Comet full AP. It's okay. Rammus, we really had high hopes for Rammus when he got his rework, and we really thought that you know, jump on his ultimate was going to bring him back into light as a support champion, but no, it didn't. J4, I want to talk a little bit about this one because if you're building him correctly, he is slightly higher than tier 4, but most people just build him like tank or, God forbid, bruiser AD, and that is just not how you play tank. That's just not how you play J4 support. So if you're going to play J4 support, here's what you want to do. You want to go airy, and you want to go full AP. So you're going to be going things like Shurelya's or Moonstone, because J4 has a very specific interaction with his E, where he drops it down, and then it's going to continuously proc airy. So you can proc it up to like 4 times with your team. So you just drop your E in the middle of a team fight, and your area is like zooming from people to like person to person. Or if you only like in a duo lane 2v2, you drop your E on someone, it does crazy damage because it scales with AP for super high ratios for some reason, and then you're shielding that same person, your one ally, like up to 4 times per E cast. It's really good, a lot of utility, but again, you're going to be really squishy, and the E cooldown is quite high. So as with E being your only harass tool in lane, let's say it's got like I think it's got a 14-second cooldown at level 1. So you're going to harass with your E, and then for those next 14 seconds, you are very vulnerable because you're not tanky, especially early game, and you have just used your only form of escape as harassment. So it's risky, but if you can get to mid game, it's really good, actually. It's like, I would place it into tier 4, much better than people think it is. So let's get into tier 4. These champions are average. Like I said, on that metric of being played 100 times, there's better champions for you to be playing. The only time that these champions are really good picks is if you're using them as counter picks, as I say right here in the description. So let's talk about the first one that I'm very, very sad about. Right now, Senna is painfully average. She basically got her main keystone that was really like she was designed around using. Glacial Augment was completely reworked. It no longer procs on auto attacks now. It only procs on hard CC. So she can technically still use and utilize Glacial Augment, but it's not going to be on her auto attack. So like she had a very, very nice combo of just like walking up, auto, it procs Glacial, Q, get another auto, conclude the trade, something like that. Now she can't do that. So now, and if you've watched my videos, you've seen me experimenting with a couple of other builds. So now I'm using things like Fleet Footwork and going a full lethality build. I'm using, there's a decent crit build out there. There's a tank. We're going back to tank Senna with Grasp of the Undying and, you know, Frostfire Gauntlet. But I'm experimenting and trying so hard to make Senna work because I love Senna. If I'm being completely honest, she is a painfully average champion right now, bordering on the bad side. So that's why she's the very first champion in tier 3, is because she is on the bad side of tier 3, which is really sad, but that's where we're at. Hopefully in the next coming patches, we can see some improvements and some love given to this champion, because she's a little on the unplayable side right now. All right, up next is Tom Kinch. Not the best tank, not the best peeler, not the best really anything, but he is playable. I would say he's average. There's no real reason to play him over actual tanks, so that's all I have to say about Tom. Galio, really, really good. If he can, I would say Galio is quite good, even at a competitive level, if you wait for the enemy team to lock in Leona. And I use Leona as like a barometer, as a metric for like why some champions are good or bad. And why they should be played over some other champions a lot, because it's one of the easiest comparisons. Like if the enemy team locks in Leona, you lock in Galio and that Leona can't play. So there you go. Should you be locking in Leona over Galio? Yes. All right, up next is Ashe, one of my favorite off-meta supports. She is super, super pokey. You go Arcane Comet, you go CDR Boots, you go Imperial Mandate, boom, you are an arrow bot. You've got great utility, you've got great vision, you've got pretty decent poke, but the same weakness that you have as with all marksman supports, you are locking in 2 marksmen usually, which makes your lane incredibly gankable and incredibly hard to survive a gank and really easy to snowball on. So if you're locking this champion, make sure you get a lead in the laning phase, or you're going to have a really, really bad time. Vel'Koz has really just kind of historically struggled. There's better poke supports. He's just kind of hard to pilot. He's got weird, like, you know, his Q goes in and then burst off. So it's like, it takes a lot of practice. I would say if you're not going to put in the time with this champion, not worth the play. There's much easier poke champions and a much better champion of the same archetype that we're going to talk about higher up the tier list. Teemo, I always got to talk about Teemo a little bit in these tier list videos. Teemo, to me, is the most underrated champion in the game. And what I mean by that is people think when you lock in Teemo, he's like a 0 out of 10, right? But really, he's like a 6 out of 10. So that's a pretty big discrepancy. And you can take a lot of people by surprise when you play Teemo. This champion is incredibly low economy. He needs like 1 item to be doing insane damages. And being low economy is very, very important as a support champion, because you don't get a lot of economy. You're not going to be farming. So all you really need is like 1 kill or like a couple assists in lane. Boom, you get your Leandries. You are doing insane damage. He's also one of the best supports at stalling out a game. So let's say you're losing the game. It's not going super hot, super well. All you have to do is shroom up mid lane, like literally put the shrooms spaced apart reasonably long spaces, but put it down mid lane right where the minions go. And unless the enemy team like assists their minions in and sweeps that path, they can't push mid. So every time they kill you and they like want to go get an inhibitor, oh, shrooms already took their entire wave. And that works like really, really well. Like I've stalled games out that we're losing super hard for 20, 25 minutes. And to be able to do that as a support is really, really crazy. So boom, Teemo. Karma, I would say Karma is the worst enchanter in the game right now. Enchanters are actually like insanely good. Karma is just absolute middle of the road. Doesn't really bring anything to the table that the enchanters further up the tier list does. She's not the best shielder really. Well, she might be the best shielder, but beyond that, not a lot of great matchups. And she's just kind of like, she's just very middle of the road. Same for Rakan. Rakan is actually one of the most versatile champions in the game. He can peel, he can shield, he can heal, he can hard engage, but really what he's great at is following up engage. So you want to have like another primary engage on your team. You want to have a Malphite, you want to have a Jarvan jungle, you want to have something that is going to go in because it's much easier for you to E off of them and then follow up on their engage than for you to RW. That's just the way it's been tuned. It's just much slower than it used to be when he first came out. That's how, yeah, super, super fun champion. And I would say the biggest benefit this guy has is that he's got a lot of great itemization options right now. You can go Even Shroud, which is the new tank item. It's kind of like a more offensive Locket, or you could go Locket, or you can go Shirelia's. You can go Moonstone. I want to recommend that though, but really that's just like, that's the biggest benefit of playing Rakan is that he's a jack of all trades, but that also means that he's a master of none. So going forward, we got Bran. Bran is like kind of like the poster child for 1v9ing as support. If you absolutely feel like 1v9ing and basically just being like a mid laner, Bran's really, really good. Ever since they've done the little rework where his E spreads even without having the passive on them already. So like, for instance, you can walk up to a minion, press E, and it's going to spread in a small little circle. And that circle grows if you happen to have already set that minion ablaze. Ever since they've done that, I think that he's a really, really good support. Most people run Dark Harvest on him. I think actually going Arcane Comet is really, really easy poke. Great way to like harass them in like a Caitlyn Bran lane. Just keep them under turret, never let them you know, have above 50% health bar. Is Bran like an actually good support? He's not trolling, but he's also not god tier. There's better kill supports up higher the list, so stay tuned. Bard. Now, Bard is a champion I've talked about a little bit before. Bard, if you're not a Bard or a Thresh one trick, I would be leaving these champions alone right now. There's some people that swear Bard is absolute god tier right now. I haven't seen it. Maybe I'm not running into the correct Bard players, but unless you are a Bard or a Thresh one trick, I really just wouldn't be playing these champions. And it's not because they're difficult. It's because it's kind of the same thing with the Shaco. You can get what they do. You can get what these champions do done with other champions with much greater success rates and much easier, like much less effort. Nautilus, the champion, is genuinely... I'd say Nautilus is the worst tank support in the game right now. And tank supports aren't weak by any means. I would say enchanters and tanks are like going at it like this as to like which class is more broken. Nautilus just can't do it. He can't keep up. He's not as tanky as Leona without Aftershock. He's got these big, slow animations. If you miss a hook, it can be very, very punishing. And he's also has a bad matchup to Leona because Nautilus, his auto attack animation to proc Aftershock is really, really slow. So Leona can actually just like permanently stun him out of getting that. And again, he's not tanky without Aftershock. He doesn't have the benefit of like Leona, who can press W and get like 50 armor and 50 MR. He's quite squishy without Aftershock. So for that reason alone, just can't really recommend him. He's the worst tank support. Morgana. So Morgana is the queen of counter picks. Again, if they lock in Leona, and your team already has a tank and they don't need a frontline. You know, if they need a frontline, I would be locking something else like Galio. But if they don't, and you need a little bit of black shield magic, go ahead and lock in the Morgana. She is the ultimate you don't get to play this champion, or you don't get to play this game champion. So if they lock in any sort of hard engage like Blitzcrank, Thresh, Leona, Morgana's your girl. She is painfully average in most matchups, but against hard engage, her black shield is just god tier. Alistar, he's kind of struggling like Nautilus. I would say he's slightly better than him just because he's a little more versatile. He can, you know, go the whole helicopter route where he just hex flashes over walls and roams around the entire game like an idiot. And that usually works, and crazy as it is. He can also still be using Aftershock or Phase Rush. He can use the new Glacial too. I've had a few games of success with him, so you know he does actually have another option. People ask me when should you be going Glacial over Aftershock or Phase Rush. As for Phase Rush is like the cheesiest of the three. Glacial is like somewhere between like actual utility and tankiness. And then if you actually just need to be the only tank on your team, I'll just be going Aftershock. But for those of you that don't know, the new Glacial, it's really, really interesting rune. Whenever you hard CC someone, so let's say Alistar like flash Qs into the enemy team, it shoots these Glacial rays everywhere, and then it slows them, obviously, for a really, really long time. And also, while the enemy team is in the Glacial Rays, they deal less damage to your teammates. So it's almost like a built-in guardian. And you can hover over the glacial icon and see how much damage that is reduced per game. And like, you can reduce quite a lot. Like, it really is like a pretty crazy utility rune. But yeah, you got Glacial, you got Phase Rush, you got Aftershock. Those are your runes for Alistar. Up next, Pike. It pains me to put Pike in tier 3 as well because such a fun champion. So fun. But he really is just like an exercise in frustration, especially from the support role. He's actually unironically better as a mid laner right now. His whole kit is just so easily outplayed that if anyone sidesteps or flashes or buffers a dash out of your hook, that means you're not going to land the E, or God forbid they flash your ultimate or use summon or heal and the ultimate doesn't execute them. Now you're in the middle of them, you instantly die. This is a for fun champion, but man, is he for fun. Shin support. I've always talked about Shin as like a higher damage, riskier version of Leona. So he does bring some unique utility that Leona doesn't. Like, he brings a big shield with his ultimate. He can cancel out auto attacks, but really he plays in lane and in the mid game very, very similarly to how Leona does. He goes in and he does a lot of damage and he soaks spells. Why I call him a riskier, higher damage version of Leona is because if he misses his taunt, he is probably going to die instantly. He's not going to proc Aftershock. He can't proc Aftershock after that. And then if Leona misses her E, it's whatever, right? She doesn't actually go in. But if Shin misses his E, he's in the middle of them without Aftershock and pretty much just dies. Syndra, another champion that I think is kind of undervalued in the support role. Really, really great poke level 1. You just use your Q. You're going to go something like Airy. You can go Comment, but since your main harassment tool is going to be your Q, it doesn't slow. So you're going to be missing a lot of comments. So, and then kill potential at level 2 and 6, of course. Kind of just a cheese champion. Up next, we got Rel. Now, there are some people that swear by Rel, and I do see support players like Core JJ succeeding with Rel. I personally think she's just a complete waste of a champion. Wasted potential. She's frustratingly clunky. She's very punishing if you don't use your W right, and she's really only useful as like a pure effective hard engage if you have flash, and you could do like a flash WR or something like that. I'll probably make another whole video talking about how bad Rel is to play. But it really sucks because Riot has just completely forgot about this champion. She's gotten like 2 balance patches in the past year, and she feels pretty unplayable to most people. Xerath, kind of just a cheese poke support. If you're good at Xerath, you'll make it work. Don't want to talk about Braum. Thresh, I've already talked about with he's got the same kind of like pilot ability as Bard. I do think Thresh is hurting a little bit right now. Numbers wise, he's not the tankiest. He doesn't have like the best lockdown or anything like that. He's carried. He's only as high as he is because of his kit. His kit is like the best support kit in the entire game. It just has so freaking much. Lantern is the best basic ability in the game. Mark my words. Swain, another kind of just like middle of the road champion to play right now. He's got some pretty crazy combos. Like Swain Ashe is really, really good because they just get a kill at level 6 every single time. But he's not like better than the actual good champions. Amumu, talked about him a little bit earlier. He's been saved from the gutters of tier 5 ever since his rework, and he was tier 1 for a while, but they definitely tuned down. I think they like doubled the mana cost on his Q, and he can use that twice. So really it quadrupled. Math. So yeah, Amumu's somewhere around like the mid tier right now. Hopefully we see him back in tier 1 because he was really, really fun to play as support. Tarik, outside of like very fringe cases, like where you have a Master Yi and you're basically playing like, protect the Master Yi comps, this champion's very, very average, painfully average. Seraphine, now she is the second worst champion in the Enchanter role. A lot of people are putting her at tier 1 and like really, really putting like a high value on her. I think she is a worse version of Sona right now, but we'll get to that later. But yeah, I do want to just say that there are other support players right now that think Seraphine is really, really broken. I don't see it. I don't feel it. So let's get into the champions that I think are genuinely very good. There's Sona, guys. Look, Seraphine, Sona. So again, Sona, same way. There are some people who think Sona is absolute god tier, should be in tier 1. I don't feel like quite that. I do think she's good. She's better than she has been in a while. I think the meta for Sona right now, even some of the maps, like just allow for better traversal for her, like safer traversal, like the new the new Hextech gates like allow her to kind of get from her base into her jungle without getting like one shot in a bush or something like that. It allows her to, you know, stay near her team and be near her team even faster. So I just think that like some of the maps favor her, some of the meta favors her. She's not getting one shot as much. She's scaling a little bit faster. I don't know about your guys' games, but it feels like all of my games are going to at least 30 minutes, and it feels like we're hitting those late game spikes even faster. So for that reason, Sona is always going to be the queen of scaling. I can't remember who it was, but there was a pro player several years ago that said that like Sona is the perfect support. Like she kind of brings like a little bit of everything. Poke, healing, hard engage, disengage. She's just kind of got it all. If the game goes to 30 minutes, there's no champion I'd rather be playing than Sona. Numbers-wise. Now, Janna, she's got some reworks coming down the pipe. That's why I kind of put her in tier 2. A lot of people think she's pretty average. I think I'm going to put her in tier 2 just because I want people to start playing her and seeing that she's actually not the worst right now. But also she's about to be a lot better because she's got a rework coming in where they're going to be shifting around a lot of numbers. They're going to be making her Q 10 times faster, which kind of gives her a lot more skill expression. She can use the Q offensively. They're going to be adding another second of slow to her W, which is really good. I don't think Janna is like the worst of the worst right now. And I think she's much better than people think she is. But the reason she's in tier 2 is because she's got that rework coming in the next patch or two, and then she's going to be god tier, I'm telling you. So get your practice in with Janna now. Yumi, this champion is a cancer. This champion is a plague, a parasite. Basically, the strength of this champion is that she turns any champion into a hyper carry. So I'm sure you've seen it time and time again. You're winning your lane against Yumi. You've killed her and her ADC like 2 or 3 times, and then she never shows up in bot lane again. She attaches to her Hecarim jungle or her Skarner jungle, her Jarvan jungle. If you have a hyper carry or any champion that is performing well on your team, Yumi will take them from an 8 out of 10 to an 11 out of 10. That's the strength of the champion. Do I recommend playing 1,000 games of her in solo queue? Probably not. You'll lose your mind. The champion has incredibly low agency, very low like actual carry potential herself, but that's her strength, is she will turn someone else into a carry. So if that's your thing, if you want to watch someone else hyper carry your games, Yumi's your thing. Nami. Now, Nami's one of my favorite enchanters, actually. I just think she has such a great, fun kit. So I might be a little bit biased in the terms of in favor of Nami, but I actually do think she's quite good right now. Great itemization. The meta is like not super harsh against her. I just think Nami's really, really good. You should be picking her up and playing her. She's got a great balance of skill expression. Like actually, like you know when you're playing with her against a good Nami, right? They're landing those 2-man bubbles. They're harassing in lane. They know their combos. They're playing to chokes and like choking out an entire team with the wave. But even if you're having like a rough game as Nami, you still got that like baseline of usefulness. A lot of these champions, if you're having a bad game or you're losing lane super hard, they're worthless, right? Nami gets to heal people. She's got a lot of utility, a lot of slows. Love Nami. Now, Blitzcrank is a champion that is up this high because look at all these other champions. They're all squishy immobiles, right? Blitzcrank dominates them. You can miss every single hook as Blitzcrank. But if you hit that one hook late game on the Sona, you win the game, right? So for that reason alone, he is the god of coin flips. Blitzcrank is always going to be strong when these champions are strong. Is he the tankiest? No. Is he the fastest? No. Does he bring any utility? Absolutely not. But if he lands that one hook, he can win the game off of it. So for that reason alone, he's this high. We got Soraka. Soraka's pretty boring to me. She's decent. She has decent poke in lane, but her healing and sustain is like actually pretty insane right now. Maokai is a champion. He's like one of my pet champions. If Leona's banned out in like a tournament, I'm usually playing Maokai. I think he's so good for a lot of reasons. You can go full AP. You can go tank. I personally think that you should be playing full AP. So you go Aftershock and then Imperial Mandate. So you go CDR boots, Imperial Mandate, and then just full AP. Don't troll and go Comet. You need your Aftershock for survivability, but you got a lot of different builds. Like I said, you can go tank, you can go full tank, you can go AP like I do. The champion is insanely easy to play, insanely fun to play. You like, let's say they have like a hyper carry, you just flash W onto them. You can't miss it. They can't outplay it. They are just going to die. Pretty good in team fights, super good at playing for objectives. If you can show up to objectives like 30 seconds before an objective, like let your team walk you into a dragon and just enough time for you to get like 2 or 3 saplings and like a bush, the enemy team can't use that bush anymore. So he has insanely good objective control. And I might be wrong. They might have patched this, but Maokai is one of the only ways to get vision in the Chemtech fog, because his what are they called? Saplings give vision. So you can just throw them into the fog and see people are there. They might have patched that out though. Zyra, crazy poke, crazy versatile in builds. You can go electrocute, dark harvest, comet, depending on the matchup. Really good versatility in builds. Good against tanks, good against everything. Good against, I mean, she's just good. This is a good champion right now. I would say if you're going to be playing like an AP mage of any sort in the bot lane, Zyra should be it. Zilean. This champion takes a lot of patience, a lot of, not mechanics, because all of his spells are incredibly easy to use, but you're going to be using them very rapidly. You're going to be switching between your QWE. It feels like it takes like, not mechanics, but high APM, actions per minute, when I play this champion at a high level. This is a very high effort champion, and a very taxing champion, if that makes sense, because it's just the name of the game with your ultimate. People are always going to complain if you don't ultimate them, but when you play Zilean, it's like your brain expands, bro. It's like you view League of Legends as like a game of chess, and your teammates are just your pawns and your queen, and you're moving them around, and you get to decide who's sped up and who lives and who dies and stuff like that. I love playing Zilean, and I'm so happy that he's really good right now. He's got a couple of different good builds. You can go full AP, you can go full utility. Zilean, boys, he's back. All right, these are the absolute best of the best. These are your 3 champions that you are going to want to be spamming in Season 12, and if you don't play them, you absolutely want to pick them up. Leona, I'm going to be honest, I almost put her into Tier 2. She does feel slightly weaker than she was in previous seasons, but I can't. I think she's really good still, which I'm totally fine with. So I'm sure we should be expecting our next Leona skin soon, because it doesn't seem like she's on the docket to get nerfed, which is great, which is fantastic. Again, slightly weaker than she felt last season for some reason. I can't quite put my finger on it. And the reason that I still have her in Tier 1, she's got a brand new mythic, guys. She's got Even Shroud, so now you actually have options. And let me talk about that a little bit, because when you think about it, Locket of the Iron Solari, even though it is like named after Leona, it's actually a little counterproductive to her playstyle. She's wanting to dive away from her team into the enemy team, which means that she doesn't usually get a lot of scenarios where she can actually pop Locket and like get the entire team's value out of it, right? She usually ends up popping Locket for herself only, and that's just like a really bad value usage of the item. But now we've got Even Shroud. We've got the new item where she doesn't even need a teammate to proc it. She goes in, and if she is CC'd or she CC's anyone, that champion now takes, I think it's an additional like 5%. The number's always changing, but I think it's like an additional 5% extra damage. So it's like a more offensive tank item. I love it. It was literally designed with Leona in mind. For that reason, I find myself going Even Shroud almost every single game. Maybe if we're super far behind and they have like champions that have resets, champions like Katarina that you can kind of like deny them a reset by going Locket. I go Locket in those scenarios, but it is so nice to have an offensive item tailored to Leona. And for that reason, Tier 1, baby. Let's go. Season 12 Leona player. Up next is one I'm not quite as happy about, and I don't think many people are. Lulu. This champion is broken. So she has got the same benefit of Yuumi, where she just kind of turns like whatever champion on her team into a hyper carry. You know, we all know the classic Yuumi Cogball, but have you seen the Yuumi Hecarim? Have you seen the Yuumi Jar? Like literally any champion, this champion makes broken. And on top of that, she's very good in lane for some reason. She is so oppressive. I got 1v2'd by a Lulu last night. It's crazy how much damage this champion pumps out. But yeah, absolute god tier right now. Pick or ban at all levels of play. Lulu's broken, guys. Up next is Lux. Now, she's got going for her what I've talked about with a couple other champions. Build versatility. You can go a full poke build. You can go a one-shot build. And unlike... who was it that I said? I can't remember. Basically, Lux is really good right now. You could also go a Guardian page. So versatility of builds, really good matchups. She's slightly overtuned right now, even though I think the last balance patch that she got was a nerf. It wasn't enough. This champion is absolutely broken. And with this champion, you get the benefit of doing something called a flex pick. So let's say you first pick Lux as your support. The enemy team is going to look at that and think, oh my god, they picked in Lux mid. Let me counterpick that. And then turns out it wasn't their mid pick. So Flex picks are very, very powerful, especially once you get to the higher levels of play, like starting in Diamond. I would say people really start thinking about flex picks and counter picks, and Lux is a really nice flex pick. Or let's say like you don't like your matchup bot, you can actually ask your mid laner to just play Lux for you. So really, really, really good champion. These are the top 3 champions. I see other tier lists, and I see people putting like 10 champions up here. I really think that you should... One, especially since we're going into the new season, I want to talk about, like, you should be constricting your champion pool. If you genuinely want to climb, you should be playing these 3 champions. Or if not these 3 champions, you know, like a different 3 champions. Don't go into this next season and, like, kind of throw darts at a board and play 15 different champs. Really, really let this season be the season that you focus on mastering 3 champions. So choose your favorite 3. Doesn't really matter. You know, I would prefer that there's somewhere up here, but... if your favorites down there, just choose that and get really, really good at it, guys. Let this season be the season that you really come into yourself as a player and, you know, become known as that, you know, Zyra player or that Zillion god. Or, you know what, if you really want to come for the throne, hey, make this season be the one that you become like the Leona god, all right? If you really want to, you know, have me as your rival. But guys, thank you so much for watching this tier list. It was really fun to make, and I hope that it is educational for you guys. Hope you guys learned. If you have any questions about anything that I said, put them down in the comment section. This is the first tier list of the season, so I'm going to be doing a lot of... you know, reading the comments and responding to as many of them as I can. So that being said, good luck in Season 12, guys. Take it easy. Peace.